Shalom, shalom, it's the brother Kadash. I'm going to start off by giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakadash. We're going to get straight into it. Negus. The word Negus, right? And I didn't know this. This is new, and this just goes to show you that you can never really stop learning. And there's so much information out there. So, here, hold up. Right? All right, so there's so much information out there. And I just learned this today, and I had to do a lesson, because the knowledge you get, you want to spread that knowledge, to wake up your people, right? And I was watching a show on Breakfast Club, right? And there was a guy named Kevin Gates on there. You guys know him, right? Famous, and he's into the whole Muslim thing. And they was just debating pretty much, about things that we know. Pretty much, he was saying how, the people that done the most hurt to him is his own people, and we know that that was a curse that was put on us. So that's very true, even though Esau is really beyond it, but we can't blame it all on Esau. We got to blame it on ourselves because we put ourselves through it. Matter of fact, let's jump straight into the scriptures to prove that point, and then we get to the definition of this, right? But Deuteronomy 28, we put it on ourselves. Verse 15, it says, but it should come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken into the voice of the word of the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and do all his commandments and his statutes which I have commanded thee this day, that all these curses should come upon thee and overtake thee, right? And us being the ones that really do the worst to each other is a part of those curses that was put on us. Like if you jump to verse 54, it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave. So just all over, all around, as a people, it takes man, woman, and children as a people to be a people, right? We're just bad to each other in that whole way, right? But not to go off in that, right? And then this topic came up, and they was talking about the word nigga, and then Kevin Gates had corrected Charlemagne. He called himself Charlemagne the God, Charlemagne the power, right? He had corrected him, and he had said that niggas mean king. So I'm like, okay, I never knew that, right? So I'll look it up on Google. I just put in nigga mean king, kind of like a type error right there. But I meant to put nigga means king, right? And this is what popped up, Negus, right? And it says a hot drink of part, sugar, lemon, or spice, right? But you got to go back to the original definition when you're going into these things. So same thing when you look up what a woman is, which a woman, when you break it down, the original definition is what a wife is, is a woman with a husband. And then a husband means master of household or head of household. Head just means master. Same thing, interchangeable, right? So you got to break down the definition. So I started to break it down, right? And right here I got a ruler or a supreme ruler of Ethiopia. Then I said, okay, well, we're not Ethiopia, right? Ethiopians, we're the Israelites, right? But then when I broke it down in the Amharic, right, which he's Muslim, so he he goes by that language and everything. He studies it. It just says king, so that's the origin. So if you get down, and this is the thing that you have to be careful with, because definitions of words change over time. Esau changes these things, so you always have to go to the origin, right? And the origin of it simply means king. So let's see how it sounds.
Negus.
One more time.
Negus.
Negus. And this is what we call each other in the streets. So the spiritual thing about it is, it's like, it was a proverb. Nigger, it's not the word that we use anymore. We call each other niggas, right? So where it was a proverb and byword that was put on us, which just goes back to the word Niger, which means king, right? Well, I'm sorry, which means black. I'm sorry, a slip of the tongue, but it just means black, right? So in Deuteronomy 28, now let me read this to you, verse 38. The Lord should bring thee and thy king which thou set over thee into a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shall thou serve other gods, wood and stone. This didn't happen to the people in the land when they went through the Holocaust. Well, let's just not even say all that. They were still serving who they believed to be God. When we went through slavery, the so-called Negroes or transatlantic slave trade, we know our heritage was beat out of us, you know, and we had to serve their gods. And same thing with the northern kingdom, you know, they told them that their gods were demons, right? The Spaniards contacted the Aztecs, burned down their libraries, told them that their gods was demon, and then, you know, converted them to being Catholics, you know, where pretty much they're in there serving the cross, wood and stone, right, and other gods, because they're not serving a true Lord. It says, and thou shall become a astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. So it says, thou shall become an astonishment, right? So when you go to these hoods, you know, they have tours to Oblak and stuff like that. That's an astonishment. You know, we're able to make it out of these places by the way of rap, because all we're doing is advertising our lifestyles, right, that we come from, because it's an astonishment to the world, so they pay money to see you. You know, it's damn near like going to the zoo and seeing a lion, right? It says a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee, right? So what was one of those words? It was Negro, nigger, right? But fast forward today, right? Which we could get the word Negro, nigger right here in Acts chapter 13. And this is how you know we're the people, right? Just those couple precepts I pulled. This is Acts chapter 13, right, verse 1. It says, now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, right, as Barnabas and Simon, that were called Niger, right? And but that's the point though, right? And it says, and was called Niger. This is Acts 13 verse 1, right? So if you go to Bible Blue Book and you just look up the Strong's definition of Niger, it's gonna break it down to mean black. So it's literally saying that they were being called black, right? So that's no different than who's being called black today, right? Because in Africa, you know, the Hamites over there, they don't really, the Ethiopians, you know, you could refer to them as black, but they don't really call themselves blacks. They call themselves Ethiopians, or rather, wherever they come from, that's what they call themselves. It's only really one people that's known for being called black people, which is the so-called Negroes in America, right? So fast forward today, and this is the spiritual thing behind it. We start calling each other niggas, you know. We use that as not an insult. It could be used as an insult, right? But for the most part, it's used as just a phrase, or really endurement. Like, it's used as a good phrase, really. You know, that's my nigga. You know, a niggas in the street. Hey, yeah, it was a nigga. This and that. It's not really like you calling somebody something bad. You know, you might see somebody coming out of the street. You might be like, "What's up, nigga?" And the nigga might be like, "What's up?" You know what I mean? Or you might be talking about somebody in third person. You might be like, "Look, the nigga said, yeah, nigga said, yeah, I don't know what nigga's talking about." You know what I mean? But you ain't really saying it like they use the term Negro or nigger. You know what I mean? That's a bad term. You would just be like, "Yeah, what's up, my nigga? Hey, you know, I love my," you know, they put in rap songs, since we talking about the music industry. You know, "I love my niggas. I'm taking care of my niggas." You know what I mean? I'm getting money out here with my niggas, you know? One of my niggas, you know what I mean? So it's almost like a good term today, right? And doesn't it sound just like this word?
Negus.
You see what I'm saying? Niggas, right? So the spiritual thing I was thinking about is, even with these curses coming upon us, right? And the Lord breaking us down, right? The Lord never really took away his truth from us. The truth was always close to us, right? And there's always been traces of who we were. We lost our heritage, right? But there's always been traces there of who we were. And the Lord always left the line to us for us to come back into the fold. The Lord always left the line there for us if we chose to. Now it's individually, because the elect is going to be individuals that the Lord chooses out of Israel, right? To come back to the Lord. So that's what you see today. A lot of us is waking up and taking and making that choice to say, look, we're going to follow the Lord. We're going to come back to the Lord. And the only reason why we're able to do that is because the Lord left that there for us. Starting with Yahweh Shai, sacrifice for us, to the Father Yahweh. you know. So this is one of those little keys, one of those little clues, one of those little traces that the Lord left to us. Because when you really think about it, you know, even with the other tribes, right? You don't really call Mexicans niggas, but we do today, you know, sometime. So now everybody refer to everybody nigga. You could see an Edomite and you refer to him as nigga, you know, because really the word nigga damn near means just man today. Sometimes it means like brother, bro, and sometimes we use it in the term of just a man. A man is a nigga. You know what I mean? But originally, you know, you wouldn't really call Mexicans that. You really wouldn't call Puerto Ricans that, even though they really heavy on it today. You know what I mean? But the word nigga was really used for really, really hard and heavy for the Judites, right? Which is so-called Negroes, right? So we just call Negroes, so we start calling each other niggas, right? Simple shit, right? And that's spiritual because what do we say? This is going back to the 12 tribe chart, and it's just even pointing even more to that 12 tribe chart being generally accurate, good, generally, right? Because why? And people don't understand, like, y'all just made up a 12 tribe chart. No, we got the 12 tribe chart through the spirit, you know, from man above us, man before us, right? Man before us, and that put in this work, elders, right? Apostles, and through the spirit. So that's what they can't understand. They always say, where did you guys get this from? You just making it up, because they're not spiritual. They don't believe that the Lord is dealing with us directly. They don't believe that the Lord could come to us and reveal something to us through the spirit that he didn't reveal to some Edomite professor. And that's their problem. The Lord could come directly to us, man. Or, and when I say us, I'm saying us that then came into this walk of being a Hebrew Israelite, but they call us black Hebrew Israelites, which is no different, once again, than calling us Niger Hebrew Israelites, which is what the prophets of old and the teachers were called of old, Niger. We just read it in Acts 13 verse 1, right? Just black, right? So they're still calling us that today, which proves even more and points even more to us being the Israelites, because we're being called black. Even we wake up and we say, look, we're the Hebrew Israelites. We're not black. We're the Hebrew Israelites. Black is a color. They still throw black on us. The black Hebrew Israelites, which is the same thing they was doing to the true prophets of old. So the Lord always leaves clues there to who we are. Now back to what I was saying, right? This word right here,
Negus.
which is historically used for the so-called black man in America, the African American man in America. Now we got the 12 tribe chart that tells you the Negroes come from the tribe of Judah. Now we know that the tribe of Judah was set up as the kings, right? You read about it in Chronicles. Chronicles pretty much started off with just lineages. Spare me if I say the order wrong, but it starts off with lineages, then it goes into Israel, then it goes into Judah, and then it breaks down from Judah, King David, and then it goes into King David life. And then, you know, after King David, he couldn't build a temple because he spilled too much blood in the sight of the Lord, in the Lord's sight, you know, roughly paraphrasing. So it was given to King Solomon. That's kind of where Chronicles is breaking down to, right? So then it started to break down to those kings. You know, you read about it in Second Samuel in of that, you know, First Kings, you know, how there's a whole list of kings from King David, really King Saul, right? But let's just say King David all the way to, I believe, the last one. I could be wrong. I believe his name was maybe Zedekiah, maybe Zedekiah. I'm not sure. You have to fact check me on that. But you know, you got Manasseh, Zedekiah, um, um, Joachim, you know, the list goes on and on. Solomon, damn, how you say that name? Hezekiah, you know, I mean, it's just a lot of different kings, right? But that's what we say. We say the 12 tribe chart that the Negroes are the Judites, meaning that they're the kings, you know, and you say like, all right, the Levites are the priests of the nation. And then when you think of the kings of our nation, you would say, oh, that's Judah. He's the leader, right? He's the one that's going to bring the people together, bring the other tribes all together. He's set up as the royal royalty. He set up as like the kings. It says thou, Genesis, I believe 49, thou are who your brothers shall praise, right? So that was Judah a lot. And it's spiritual to see that, you know, even to this day, with us being down, right, and we had it the worst out of all the tribes because we was the kings, right? So therefore, in the spiritual connection, on the flip side, we got it the worst of these curses, right? And man and or woman, right? But it's spiritual to see that even though, you know, one of the biggest words, because that's one of the biggest words that's used is the word nigga, you know, amongst the so-called Negroes. That's one of the most used words. If you had to like do a list of most used words, I'm sure that word would be pretty high on the list. You know, we use that pretty much every other sentence, you know, growing up in the hood, you know. And it's just spiritual to see that. And I just learned this today, you know, and it's just spiritual to see that even with us calling ourselves that and not understanding spiritually, because the Eric, the Amharic language is very close to the Hebrew because it comes from the Hebrew. All that shit comes from the Hebrew. A lot of Japanese languages and Chinese languages, it comes from the Hebrew, right? Because at one point in time we all were speaking Hebrews because they come from the line of Shem too. They do. Esau comes from the line of Shem. Moab and Ammon comes from the line of Shem. Elon, um, Ishmael, and of course Israel. We all come from the line of Shem. You see what I'm saying? So it's just spiritual to see, even though I know it is a different language than Hebrew, but it does come from Hebrew. But the word means king. So really, in their language, we've been running around calling each other kings, and not even knowing it. You know, and then lately, not too long ago, we literally start calling each other kings. We said, look, let's stop calling each other niggas and let's start calling each other kings, right? But the thing about it is, in reality, now when you get the definition of this word,
Negus.
we really been calling each other kings, and there really ain't no difference. So you see what I'm trying to say, like how the Lord works in mysterious ways. So you've been calling, look, man, this nigga, but really you saying this king. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's kind of good. And we learned this from our elders and our apostles. You know, we got to give credit to where credit is due. And we learned this is to go into the definitions of words. A lot of mysteries have been solved and a lot of enlightenment has came and edification has came simply off brothers breaking down the definition of words. And this is why it's very important. I mean, just like when you get to Revelation 13 and you start breaking down the mark of the beast, right? You have to go into the definitions of the words. You know what the word means, charagma, the mark. And then you get an understanding of what charagma is. Then you could figure out, okay, nah, the mark of the beast has to be something that's physically going to be in you. The chip, right? It's just like here in camp, we got camp coming up this weekend, and we're breaking down Revelation chapter 6. Now, there's been controversy over what the white horse is. Some people have been saying that it's talking about Esau. We say it's talking about the Lord, and this is why you got to go to the definition of the word. Well, we know the word white means pure. So we know damn well that it ain't talking about Esau. I mean, what's that, Hebrews 12 or something like that? When it talks about there's no profane person that's Esau, Esau's not pure any type of way. You know what I mean? So we know that when it's saying white horse and it's saying pure, it's pretty much saying pure horse, right? We know that it's not talking about Esau. So it has to be talking about the Lord. See, just something just that simple, going to the definition of the word makes that big of a difference. You know, so hopefully this has been edifying. You know, with that I'm gonna say salvation to the elect. Shalom.